Okay, so now welcome to another episode of How Do We Pass Our Common Core Algebra Regions. In this case, we are going to be continuing. Okay, last time we did linear equations, we graphed them, we talked about slope and the y-intercept. Well, today we are going to basically find slope from a graph. We're gonna try to write the equations. We're going to also find the slope when we are not given the graph, when we are given the coordinates of the 2 points. In other words, instead of this point, they're gonna give us -1, -1, and they're gonna give us 2, -2. See that? And we're gonna use the formula to find the slope. So in this case, I'm gonna try to do both for the first example, and then we're just gonna go with the graph. So the slope here, what do I know? That if the line is going down like that, okay, down to the right, the line has a negative slope. And how do I find the slope? Well, all I need is 2 points. How do I go from one point to the next? Usually we want to go from left to right, but you can go from right to left. It really doesn't matter, and I'm going to prove to you. So the slope here will be, remember what the slope is. The slope is the change in y over the change in x. Okay, so what is the change in y? Well, how many units from here to here going down? 1 unit, right? And we went down, so we have -1. And then I went down, and then how many units to the right? 1, 2, 3. So 3 units, positive 3 units. Of course, when in a fraction you have one of them being negative, then you could just write the negative sign in the middle of the numerator and denominator. So the slope here is -1/3. Now, let's say they had only given us the 2 points, but not in the graph, but as an ordered pair. So let's actually get the 2 points. This point is -1, -1. See that? And this other point is 2, -2. The next point is 2, -2. And now they ask us, let's say they ask us to find the slope. Well, first we need to label our points. Okay, we know that this is the x of this ordered pair and that this is the y. We know that this is the x of this ordered pair and this is the y. Now, for identification purposes, so you know which one is which, and we always follow the same direction. If you're gonna go from here to here, then continue. If you're gonna go from here to here, keep it consistent. That's why we're gonna call this the sub-1s. Okay, this is the first point if you started from here, or it could be the second if you started from here. So it really doesn't matter. That's what I want you to understand. If these are the ones, then we're gonna call this the 2s. Okay, there is no such thing as calling this x1 and this y2. Okay, or this x2 and this y1. No, it doesn't work like that. The 1s and the 2s, as simple as that. Please don't ever forget. All right, so the formula to find the slope algebraically is the following. Take y sub 2 and subtract y sub 1 from it. This is called a subscript. It doesn't mean anything. It just means that you know which one is which. And take over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Okay? You cannot do sub 2 minus sub 1 and then sub 1 minus sub 2. It doesn't work like that. So this is the formula. This is rise over run. All right. So now let's put the formula to the test. You see now y is nice to label them. So let's see. Y sub 2 is this one right here, -2. Minus, so you see, always say it like that, the way I'm saying it. So y sub 2 is -2, so we write -2, then put the minus from the formula, and then where is y sub 1? Right here, -1. So you see, now why am I saying do it the same way I'm doing it? Because some of you might say, oh, -2, and then you put -1, and it doesn't work like that. It's -2 minus from the formula and y sub 1, which is -1. Okay, with that being said, over x sub 2 is 2 minus from the formula, and then x sub 1 is negative 1. You see that? So like that you won't make the mistake. Alright, if you know how to add sign numbers, you're good. If not, then you're gonna have to use a calculator. Whenever you have an addition, okay, or a subtraction that has two signs like this, don't confuse yourself. Don't drown in a cup of water. Take the two signs, remember, and multiply them. So in other words, this negative 2 minus negative 1 turns into negative 2 plus 1. And the same thing here. 2 minus negative 1 is the same thing as 2 plus 1. You nice, Becker. I know. Alright. So for the final touch, negative 2 plus 1 is negative 1. And 2 plus 1 is 3. Making our slope negative 1 over 3, which is the same slope that we found at the beginning by looking at the graph. So this is how you use the formula. Later on we're going to use the formula, but right now let's concentrate on finishing and finding the slopes right here. Remember what the slope is, how steep the line is. Okay, so I can already tell that this is a negative slope. So let's see, from this point to this point, or from this, you know what, let's do both. So from this point to this point, I go 1, 2, 3 down, and 1, 2 to the right. I went 3 down, and I went 2 to the right. Now making my slope negative 3 over 2. Now let's start from this point to see if it's the same thing. So how do I go from this point to this point? Still following the change in y over the change in x. So I went 1, 2, 3 up, see, and 1, 2 to the left. So 3 up is positive and 2 to the left is negative, okay, if you looked at the previous video. So it's 3 over negative 2. Guess what? It's still a negative fraction, and it's still the same slope. Okay, let's move on. So what's the slope here? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 5 over 3. And the slope is going up to the right. It's going up, so it's going to be a positive slope. All right, next exercise. What is the slope here? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 1, 2. So 6 down, okay, 6 down, and 2 to the right. What is that? Well, this is nothing more than 6 divided by 2 is 3, so it's negative 3. But if we want to be more exact, it's negative 3 over 1, which again turns into a slope of negative 3. So whenever you have this negative 3, you could turn it into a negative 3 over 1 if you need rise over run. If you're not, then that's fine. Okay. What about this one now? What is the slope? One, 2, 3 over 1. And it's positive. So it's 3 over 1 or just 3. Right here. What is the slope? The slope. Okay. Right here. Remember, you have to do it. Okay, good job. Now, how about this one? Seven over 3. Right? Look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3. And now I'm gonna do something that I haven't done in a while. The slope here is 3 over 2. And I want us to write the equation of the line. What? Well, to write the equation of the line, you only need two things. The slope and the y-intercept. What is the y-intercept? This line touches the y-axis. 1, 2, 3. It touches it at 0, negative 3. Okay, so the coordinates of the y-intercept are 0, negative 3, making the y-intercept negative 3. Okay, now if I was to write the equation, remember that your equation is in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So what are the components? Well, y and x will always be there. So all you need is the slope and the y-intercept. What is the slope? Negative 3 over 2. Then you just insert the x right there. And then plus b. Plus or minus b. It doesn't have to be really plus b, okay? Because this number is negative. So y equals 3 over 2x minus 3. Oh, I'm back. You're the awesome. You're the awesome of the awesomeness. Okay, let's write an equation for this one. What do you think your equation should look like? Well, you got your slope, right? And the coordinates of the y-intercept are what? 0, 3. And now, that makes your y-intercept 3. So now to write the equation of your line, remember, you always gonna have the y and the x. You're always gonna have the y and the x. So here goes the slope, right? 7 over 3. And here goes the y-intercept, which is positive 3. So that's why I hadn't put a sign here. Positive 3. So there you go. Y equals 7 over 3x plus 3. And that's the equation of your line. And you were able to write it just by looking at the graph, identifying the slope, identifying the y-intercept. Can I do this on the calculator? Of course you can do this on the calculator, but you need to know how to do it by hand. All right, so we're done with finding slope from a graph. Now we are going to actually find slope when you are given the 2 points. Okay, then we're gonna solve for y. All right, so let's see, right here. So I want to find the slope from these 2 points. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to label them. X, Y, X, Y. X sub 1, Y sub 1, X sub 2, Y sub 2. And now I write down the formula for the slope. Remember, is the change in y over the change in x. Change means the difference. It means one of the y's minus the other y, and then one of the x's minus the other x. So that's why there's a formula. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's do this. All right. So y2 minus y1. So 14 minus 10. 14 minus 10 over x2 negative 7 minus from the formula, and then x1, which is 8. Okay, 14 minus 10 is 4. Negative 7 minus 8 is negative 15, making your slope negative 4 over 15, or like this. If one of the numbers is negative, only one is negative in the fraction, the whole fraction becomes negative. So, alright. Now, if somebody asks you, yeah, but what does having a slope of negative 4 over 15 means? Well, it means that the line has a negative slope, and it means that the line will move 4 units down and 15 units to the right, or 4 units up and 15 units to the left. Alright, let's do the next one. Shh, be quiet. negative 10 minus from the formula, and then y1 is negative 4. Some of you forget, just do negative 10 and then you do minus 4, and you cannot do that. That's why I'm doing my way. The minus from the formula, and then y1 is negative 4. Okay. x2 is 12 minus from the formula, and then x1 is negative 20. Okay. So negative 10 plus minus negative 4. Remember, when you have two signs together like that without anything in between, then just multiply the signs. In other words, this is negative 10 plus 4. Let me rewrite it. Negative 10 plus 4 over negative 12 plus 20. Because look, I also have the same situation here. Alright. Negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6. Negative 12 plus 20 is 8. Wow, we have a situation. Why? What is the situation? Well, if you had done it on the calculator, I would have gotten my result right away, which I'm going to show you how to do. Okay, 6 and 8 can be reduced more. So half of 6 is 3. And half of 8 is 4. Making your slope negative 3 over 4. Meaning that you go 3 units down and 4 units to the right to go from one point to the next. Or yes, you could go negative 6 units down and 8 to the right to get to the next point. But it's usually favorable, nice, if you can represent the slope in simplified, okay, in reduced form, if you're gonna do it as a fraction. All right, let's move on. Now you're gonna try this, okay? So start. Seems like you got it. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, 16 plus. Okay, now you have to understand something. I guided you, I explained to you. By now you should know what's going on. All right, these are the ones, these are the twos, if you saw what I was doing. And two negative signs. Remember what happened. So 16 plus 6 is 22. 15 minus 19 minus negative 19 is 15 plus 19. Okay, which is what? Well, 34. Can I reduce this? Yes. 11 over 17. Just take half of both. All right. Continue with the next one. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so negative 15 minus 20 is negative 35. Negative 18 plus 18 is 0. What's up with that? Guys, only Chuck Norris can divide by 0. Okay, little accident right here. Guys, only Chuck Norris can divide by 0. So, let's see what's going on. If I divide by 0, what happens when you divide by 0? If you ask your iPhone, what is a number divided, can you divide by 0? The iPhone is gonna say Oh yeah, sure. It's like growing a third arm. Can you grow a third arm? No. So look at what happens. Let me get any number. 18 divided by 0. Error. Attempted calculation contains division by 0. Calculation fails because no one can divide by 0. Only Chuck Norris and maybe your teacher. Okay. And Superman. So you cannot divide by 0. But what does it mean? If there's somebody asks you, okay, yeah, fine, it's undefined. So I'm going to write the word undefined. But what does it really mean? Well, if you go back to the other lesson, when we were graphing vertical lines and horizontal lines, think about it. The slope is the change in y over the change in x. Do you see any change on the top? Is there movement on the top? Yes, you go 35 units down. Okay, is there movement in the bottom? No, so you don't go sideways. So wait, so you're saying that I only go up and down? Yes. And remember what I said? Can you walk up a wall? If the line looks like this, the slope is undefined. No, but you cannot calculate it. If the line looks like this, the slope is 0 because you don't have any resistance. Okay? Walking on a flat surface is a slope of 0. Anyways, this is not a slope of 0, this is undefined. Got it? And it has to do with the vertical line. Oh my God, I'm so thankful that we actually got a problem like this. All right. Let's go on to number 10 because we're not there yet. All right, so do number 10, number 12. Let me help you with this. Okay, number 14. So the slope is negative 1 over 14 for that one. You got it? Okay, so the slope is negative 1 over 4 for this one. The slope is negative 18 over 13. Move on. Okay, and the slope is, well, let's do the whole thing here. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, 12 plus 18, and 11 minus 12 is negative 1, making my whole slope negative 30 over 1, or negative 30. Okie dokie. So now let's move on to the next phase of my strategy on teaching you how to identify parts, the slope, and this and that. All right, so here it says find the slope of each line. This is a line. I already showed you how to graph. Okay, now we're gonna find the slope. In order for you to find the slope, the equation has to be one, solve for y. Second, it has to be in y equals mx plus b mode. Now, can the equation be in y equals b plus mx mode, or ax instead of m, as we discussed before? Yes, it can if you are able to determine the slope from the equation in any form. Right now, we're going to focus on y equals mx plus b. So let's see now. The slope, okay, the y, okay, the m, I see the m. The m is the one that multiplies the x, okay? So the slope here is negative. I made a mistake. Negative 5. Now, if I was to ask you, okay, but and now what is the y-intercept? The y-intercept has coordinates of 0, b. So if I was to find the y-intercept, all I have to do is make the x 0. So negative 5 times 0 is 0. Minus 1, minus 1. Okay, so the y-intercept is negative 1. I'm not asking you for the y-intercept right here. I'm asking you for just the slope, but you know, we're killing two birds with one stone. Okay, is this solved for y? Yes. Do we have mx? Yes. Okay, and if you want to go beyond and say that the y-intercept is negative 4, be my guest. All right, what is the slope here? What is the slope here? Let me rewrite the equation. The slope, my friends, is negative 1 over 1, or just negative 1. Remember, the reason I put it as a fraction is so you can see the rise over the run. 1 down, 1 to the right, 1 down, 1 to the right. Alright, we have a problem here. This equation is not in y equals mx plus b. This equation is in standard form. What the hell is standard form? The standard form is something x plus something y equals the loose number, the constant. Alright, that's the standard form, and I'm gonna give you an example of, oh, you know what, actually I'm gonna put an asterisk here because we could use this as an example for the graph. Alright, the equation is not in standard form. The equation is in standard form, but the equation is not in slope-intercept form. The slope is not in y equals mx plus b. First, it's not solved for y. You see, you don't see y equals. That's the idea. So then we have to make it. Okay, cool. So we're solving for y. So I'm gonna subtract 2x from both sides. So subtract 2x from both sides. Subtract 2x from both sides. Okay. Right here. Subtract. Okay. So now 2x disappears. So I bring down the 3y and I ask you, what is 9 minus 2x? And some of you are going to be so smart, they're going to say 11x. Some of you are going to be very smart, you're going to say 7x. Some of you are going to be actually smart and are going to say you cannot combine them because they're not like terms. So they stay the same. So should I write 9 minus 2x, or can I write negative 2x plus 9? Becker, write negative 2x plus 9, because now it's looking more like mx plus b. Oh, okay. And now what to do? Now 3 is multiplying the y, so all you have to do is divide by 3 on both sides. Okay, you divide by 3 on both sides, and now we rewrite y equaling negative 2 over 3 x plus 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. So now, guess what? Now my equation is in slope-intercept form. Look, y equals mx plus b. So now you can determine the slope, right? The slope is negative 2 over 3. Okay? Negative 2 over 3. Cool then. Let us go to the next example. Alright. Number 18. The slope there is what? Sure, it's solved for y. You have mx, so the slope is 1 over 3. And if the y-intercept, you know it's negative 4. Okay, here we have a problem. Is this in the form of y equals mx plus b? It's not even y equals mx plus something. But if you look at the last video, the graph of x equal to any number, 1, 2, 3, negative 1, whatever, it's a vertical line. And what do we know about the slope of vertical lines? Undefined, because you cannot walk up a vertical line, a vertical wall, a vertical something. Only Spider-Man, I guess. Yeah. So the slope is undefined. Just make sure you understand. If not, then you could either make a comment, or if you're my student, just ask me. All right, the slope here. Yes. The y-intercept is -1. The slope. -1 over 1, or just -1, right? The slope. Once again, this is not in y equals mx plus b form. This is not in slope-intercept form. This is in standard form. So how do I fix it? Easy. Look, there are 3 rules to solve for y, which we are going to explore in a little while. The first rule to solve for y, and you better be writing it down, okay? Move the x term, okay, by using the additive inverse. The additive inverse. Move the x term by using the additive inverse. Okay. Second, get rid of, you know what, instead of move, let's use the word get rid of. Get rid of the loose number. Get rid of the loose number. What is the loose number? Well, in this case, the loose number is the one that doesn't have a variable, so it will be 6. Okay, the x term will be 5x. And last but not least, use the multiplicative inverse. Okay, multiplicative inverse of the number that, okay, use the multiplicative inverse of the number that multiplies the y. All right, so these 3 rules are always gonna help you. So let me go onto the other page and let me write the equation again. 5x plus 2y equals 6. So let's see now. 5x plus 2y, okay, equals 6. Yes. Oh, okay. So boing, boing. Oh, okay. So now we're gonna use the additive inverse of the. Okay, first of all, move the loose number to the other side, or get rid of the loose number. Guess what? Look, this is what we want, so we're gonna work with everything else. Here, the loose number is already on the other side, so there's no need for us to move the loose number. But then again, we have to get rid of the x term by using the additive inverse. So we're gonna use the additive inverse, which is negative 5x, and we're gonna, what you do to one side, you do to the other. 0, right? Now bring down the 2y. What is 6 minus 5x? Please don't say 1. You know that they're not like terms, so we're just gonna rewrite them. Becker, but why don't you write the 6 first? I could have, but we're trying to get it into y equals mx plus b form. All right, and then the last rule says use the multiplicative inverse of the number multiplying the y. So since you saw the video on how to solve linear equations, I'm going to show you what the multiplicative inverse is. The multiplicative inverse of 2, well, 2 can be written as 2 over 1. So the multiplicative inverse is 1 over 2. All right? I hope you remember this. Now, why couldn't I just divide by 2? Yes, I could have. Of course I could have. But this is the same thing. Look, when you multiply by a fraction, you multiply by the top and divide by the bottom. So 2y times 1 is 2y. over 2. Look, negative 5x times 1 is negative 5x, and then over 2. 6 times 1 over 2. So you see, it is the same thing. So if you know what to do, then you don't always have to use the multiplicative inverse. You could just go ahead and divide by 2 on both sides. But look how I divide by 2. I didn't just put a 2 over the whole expression. No, I divided each one by 2. So now the 2 cancels out, and then we have negative 5x over 2 turns into negative 5 over 2x. See, you could do that. And then 6 over 2 turns into 3. Now you could actually tell me what is the slope, and if you want, to the y-intercept. See that? Boom. Okay. All right, so we are going to start solving for y so much that you're gonna go crazy with this thing. Okay, let's start over here. We are going to leave all the equations into what we just saw, the slope-intercept method, the slope-intercept form of a linear equation. Y equals mx plus b. So the x we're always gonna put first, and then the b. Got it? All right, let's do this. Let's pass this common core algebra regions. So what do I notice? I notice that I have distributive property. Look, the 18 is not part of it. So I'm gonna use the distributive property. Now, I can use the distributive property, or I can show you a trick. We could just divide by negative 2 on both sides. You know what? Let's go step by step. Let's use the distributive property. So if I use it, I get negative 2x minus 6y, and that equals 18. Make sense? Okay then. Now, we're gonna follow the 3 simple rules of solving for y. First, get rid of the loose number. Well, 18 is the loose number, and it's already on the other side of the y because it's on the other side of the equal sign, so we don't have to do anything. So what else? Well, get rid of the x term. All right, so let's add 2x to both sides. Cancels out, so bring down the negative 6y. 18 plus 2x. What is that? Exactly, you cannot combine them, so put the 2x first, and then plus 18. And now you could use the multiplicative inverse, okay? So we're going to use the multiplicative inverse of negative 6, which is what? Negative 1 over 6. And we multiply both sides by it. It's always the case, okay? Now, what is the equivalent of this? Well, think about it. The equivalent of this is, or why do we use the multiplicative inverse? Well, because at the end it's like dividing by negative 6. So let me rewrite it so you understand what I'm doing. Negative times negative is positive, so I get 6y over 6. Okay, look, this times 1 is 6y over 6. 2x times 1 is, 2x times negative 1 is negative 2x over 6. 18 times negative 1 is negative 18 over 6. So you see, it's basically when it's like if you were divided by negative 6 or 6. So it cancels out, so you get y equals negative 1/3, because 2 over 6 can be simplified to 1/3. So negative 1/3 minus 3. So now I have my equation in y equals mx plus b. And for the sake of ruining my lesson, I'm going to do what I told you I was going to do. So I am going to divide both sides by negative 2. Let's see what happens. If I do, then only this number cancels out, and 18 turns into 9. So what do I have left? X plus 3y equaling negative 9. So now I have to solve for y. So let me get rid of the loose number. Oh, oops, it's on the other side already. Let me get rid of the x. So I'm going to subtract x on both sides. Sorry. Okay. And now I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. So when I divide by 3, it cancels out. If I divide by 3, I get negative 1/3 x. And if I divide by 3, I get 3. So if we compare them, if you compare both of them, we end up with, look, the same. Oh man, I have to make it smaller. So you see, we end up with the same thing. How am I gonna put this on top of the? Oh, you don't have to vex. What you can do is just put them one next to each other. Oh yeah, okay. So you see, same thing. But I was lucky because I could have. I was able to divide by what was multiplying the whole thing. All right, let's do another one so you can have a better understanding. And this time, I hope you can see this one better. It's big enough, right? So, first rule, move the loose number to the other side. Well, the y is right here. This is what divides the two sides. So the loose number is already on the other side of the y. Alright, fine. So then now, get rid of the x term. Look, the x term is already on the other side. Okay then, so now use the multiplicative inverse of the number that is multiplying the y. Okay, in this case, I'm not going to use the multiplicative inverse. I know what the multiplicative inverse does. It makes you divide by the number. See that? So now y equals 5x minus 4. Alright? Y equals mx plus b. Plus or minus, remember. Okay. Next, solve for y. This time, you try it and then we check our answers. Please, if you are in my classroom and you're my student, you could participate. You could say what step is being done or what you would have done. Remember, the loose number is already on the other side, so I don't have to do anything to that. Is the x and this number I gotta get rid of. And I love to put the x term under the loose number to see if you get confused. So 3 minus 2x, 1, no. 3 minus 2x, 5, no. Stop, they're not like terms. This has an x, this doesn't. Oh my god, you're not gangsta. Don't try to make this a decimal number because we're dealing with slope and y-intercept. So the slope you need it as rise over run, okay? Alright, remember, you're pausing this and you're trying it first. And then checking with me to see what you got. That's the way to learn. Stupido, that's not what you do. Could you imagine I was going to subtract 5x and then I was going to subtract 5x and then I'm going to have 10y minus 5x, and the idea is to solve for y, not to leave Leave the put more numbers on the y. So I notice that the y is on the other side and that this is it. I can rewrite the whole thing. Look, let me rewrite the whole thing. 10y. Okay, in other words, like a mirror. So equals to 5x plus 10. Okay. Now we're talking. So the loose number is on the other side. The x term is on the other side. So all left to do is divide by 10 on both sides. Wait, where did this 1/2 come from? Well, think about it. What is 5 over 10? 1/2. Oh, okay, got it. All right, people. The moment of truth has come. If you are my students, you should understand this. And if you're not, you should still understand this. We just did a couple of problems. But look at what's going to happen here. Or you know what? No. Let me continue helping you with the traditional method. So this is what we want. This is the equal sign. So I need to move everything else to the other side. So move the loose number. Look, the loose number is on the y. So what is negative? The opposite of negative 10? Yes? Okay. All right. What else? Move the x term. Sure. It cancels out here, and of course it appears over here. So in the future I'm just gonna get rid of it, and it's gonna appear on the other side with the opposite sign. Okay. Now what? So I have distributive property. Or look, I could just divide both sides by 5, but you know what? Let us use the distributive property. Okay, so this is what we want, the y, and this is what divides one side from the other. So move the loose number to the other side. It's done already. So get rid of the x term. So watch what I'm gonna write, and please tell me that you do understand what I just did. I'm gonna write 5y. I'm gonna pretend I already got rid of this, or you know what? Take the 5x. Psh, you got it. You know how you erased the 5x. You know how you got rid of it. Give me back my 5x. Remember, how did you get rid of that 5x? You subtracted 5x, right? So you got rid of it. Well, and when you do to one side, you do to the other. See that? Let's work. All right. So what is this? This is 5y equals 20. What is 3x minus 5x? Negative 2x. Now let's divide by 5. Alright, so the 5's cancel out. And now I need this. Okay, let me see, do I have space here to write? Sure. So 20 divided by 5 is 4 minus 2 over 5x. Is this in y equals mx plus b form? Mx plus b? No. This looks like more like y equals b minus mx. So let's turn it into y equals mx plus b form. So y equals negative 2 over 5x. The x goes in between, okay, because the x actually belongs to the top. All right, and then plus 4. All right, let's move on. We're good. All right, this time I'm gonna do even less work. All right, so and let's see now, this is the division of the sides, and this is what we want. All right, get rid of the loose number. Already did. Get rid of the x term. Yes, I'm gonna grab it and give it to you. And now when you give it back to me, how you give it to me? Still negative, or I'm sorry, still positive, or now it's negative. Right, you needed a negative x to get rid of it, so on the other side you also need a negative x. Okay, and now negative 2 is multiplying, so boom, I'm gonna give it to you. You know what we're doing. We're dividing by negative 2 on both sides, but now I'm not writing it. I need you to start thinking like that. So I get 4 over 2 minus x over 2. Wait, negative 2. We divided by negative 2. See that? So this is now negative 2 plus 1 over 2x. Remember, 1 over 2. Negative divided by negative is positive. This is not in y equals mx plus b form, so now it is in y equals mx plus b form, slope-intercept form. So I could determine what the slope is and what the y-intercept is, okay? Let's solve for y. In this case, I want this and I also want this. So how do I go about it? Well, you're gonna have to put them together somehow. So my best bet is to subtract 2y from both sides. If I subtract 2y from both sides, do you really want me to write it down? Okay, I wasn't going to. All I had to do was take it, give it to you, and subtract it on the other side, but fine. But if you already understand, then please do it. So 5y minus 2y is 3y. Okay. So now I don't have to worry about much. Okay. Now I want, okay, and this is what divides the two sides. So let's get rid of the loose number. 8. How do I get rid of an 8? With a negative 8. Okay, you're getting better at this. The negative 8 is going to be combined with this positive 5. So I have negative 3, and now 5 minus 8 is negative 3. And now I'm going to divide by 3 on both sides. So negative 3 divided by negative 3, negative 1x. Negative 3 divided by 3, negative 1. See that? So now, I mean, you could rewrite it as y equals negative 1x minus 1. Still the same thing. You could still determine the slope. All right, you do it. All right, it's your job to determine what I just did. there you have it. So I hope, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 6, 9, 12. We just did 12 problems on how to solve for y. If you need any more help, then you can make a comment. But right now, I'm done with solving for y. I'm done with showing you the slope-intercept form, okay? And I also showed you how to graph the lines. But let us do a recap on all the problems to see how I would start graphing my line. It's a linear equation, a straight line. So here, I will start at -3, and I will go 1 down, 3 to the right, 1 down, 3 to the right, and I will move on. So my line will look like that. If I run out of space over here, then remember 1 down and 3 to the right is the same thing as 1 up and 3 to the left. So I would just continue up to the left, up to the left. To graph this one, well, the slope actually here will be 5/1, right? Remember, when you're graphing, you want rise over run. So this would be, since it's positive, is 5 up, 1 to the right, 5 up, 1 to the right, and you start at 0, -4. Here you would start at 0, 1, and you go 3 units down and 1 to the right, 3 units down and 1 to the right. Here you would start at 0, 1, and you will go 2 down, 3 to the right, 2 down, 3 to the right, 2 down, 3 to the right. Okie dokie. Here you would do, you will start at 0, 1, and you will go 1 up, 2 to the right, 1 up, 2 to the right, 1 up, 2 to the right. I hope this was useful. I believe in you. You're going to be successful. Trust me.